Welcome to Telling the Tale. It's the podcast in which we cover every single Telltale episodic video game. I'm here with co-host Dustin Jackson. What's up?
I'm afraid I've got some bad news, Mitchell.
What?
In space.
That's usually good news for me. It's
Yeah.
bad now?
Yeah, not this time. No, it was. That's what we call a Homestar Runner reference.
You know what I would like to reference?
Could it be Telltale's The Expanse?
I believe it's called The Expanse, a Telltale series.
Fuck!
Dork check over here. Turns
Damn
out you're a
it.
dork. Episode 1, Archer's Paradox. Released on July 27th, 2023, which is the most recent we've ever done a game for this podcast. Or maybe Return to Monkey Island? No, even then, I think we gave it a few more days than that.
Yeah, I think we wanted a little more time for that. And this one just came out a week? Not even a week ago.
Less than a week ago, yeah.
But it makes sense considering that's a full game and this is episode 1 of a full game.
Yeah, before we start, there's a lot to talk about here. I just want to get some housekeeping out of the way.
Ooh.
Shout outs to Dustin, you know what I'm going to say?
What are you going to say, Mitchell?
Shout outs to The Legend of Monkey Island.
Ooh, yeah. I was going to ask if we were going to bring it up last week, but I plumb forgot.
Yeah, so I think we're not doing an episode on it.
Okay.
Or these. Maybe we can, when they're all three of them out, maybe we can do a very special episode on it.
I'd be down
maybe.
for that.
But, you know, it is outside the scope of the podcast a little bit. We've done that for Monkey Island in the past, but we'll see. It is good. It is a Monkey Island canonical, full Monkey Island game, kind of. But it is an expansion within Sea of Thieves, and it plays like Sea of Thieves does.
Yeah, it's what you might call an episodic Monkey Island story.
Yeah. Our good personal best friend in the whole wide world, Chris Alcock, wrote a lot for it over at Rare, and of course the two of us are famously Rare fans, so we like their stuff. Famously. We've been accused of it in public.
That's like my one personality trait.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I know. It's a cool podcast, bud. And yeah, so I think they knocked the tone of it out of the park. Being that it's not sort of in the style of either a point-and-click adventure or a narrative adventure game like we typically do on this podcast, and also because it's not a follow-up to Tales of Monkey Island, we're not really covering in it as much. But it is worth mentioning, especially because it's divided up into episodes like everything we do.
Yeah, that makes it similar.
It does make it similar. Yeah. So just shout outs to that. Shout out.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you say thank you?
I was gonna say thank you, but then you said shout out, and so I went
Wait, to Rare?
Yeah, thank you for making a good Monkey Island thing.
Yeah, thank you, Rare. Yeah, so let's dive into The Expanse then.
Woo!
This is the big moment that the Telltale group, as they are now reknown, what they've been leading to for 3 years now, at least.
Right.
They're putting out a new Telltale game after the company crashed in 2018. We've got a new Monkey Island game by we just talked about that, by Terrible Toy Box made returns. And that wasn't really a Telltale thing, but you know, Telltale's heavily associated with Monkey Island. Right. There was New Tales from the Borderlands, which was essentially a Telltale game.
Yeah.
But not made by the Telltale people, and we did talk about that. We've got 5 full episodes of this podcast that you can go back and listen to if you'd like. But we are talking about putting the name Telltale on the box, having the group Telltale work on the game.
Yeah, this is the first game you can actually call a Telltale game since Walking Dead Season 4, right?
Yeah, I think the latest official release was the Shadows edition of the Batman games.
Right.
But the latest new game, yeah, it was Walking Dead Season 4.
Mhm.
So we're back in it. We're officially out of the period in which Telltale was considered a dead company.
Raise your glass, Mitchell. Raise it up in the air and give it a good clink against mine.
I'm drinking a Beach Plum LaCroix.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm drinking water.
I like both the words in Beach Plum, but I
Yeah,
think
those are good.
together it makes it like you just found it out there.
Yeah, you had to wipe all the sand off.
Yeah, and like just by the condoms, you found some plums on the ground. I wouldn't make juice out of that, but thankfully, this is basically water.
That's good. That's good. It's got a bubble in
Yeah, it's got one bubble in it. Don't spin
it.
it all in one place. So I think there's a lot to talk about, just with the idea that there is this thing that was a major institution within video games coming back. It's now back. But before we really dive into it, let's do our normal thing that we do. It's directed by Stephen Frost and written by a number of people. I have found these credits to be some of the most difficult to decipher in terms of like picking these names out
Right.
of anything we've done.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm going to say who the director is, the narrative lead, which I assume is head writer, and the lead designer.
Okay.
Narrative lead is Jonathan Zimmerman, and lead designer is Christopher Sika. There are a number of people who have put their all into this game. Notably, this game was published by Dustin. Do you know?
Um, was it not published by Telltale Games?
No, no, no. Because Telltale is not a publisher, or I guess not yet, at least. They are owned by the parent company Alcon now. The
Oh,
current version of Telltale is owned by the company Alcon, which is the company that pre-existed the revitalization of Telltale, that bought the brand and then built it back up.
gotcha, gotcha.
So
Okay.
they're listed as publisher.
I'm on board now. I get you. I got all the info.
Yeah, and then the developers, there's two developers listed. And the way that they're divided in the credits is that they've said Deck 9 is the writer and designer. Written and designed by Deck 9 is what it says.
Mm,
And then also development by Telltale Games.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so there's three names floating around there. And that just seems to be the thing that happens when things get old enough and there's enough money floating around and lawyers need to decide what names go where. But that's how it goes. And I think we can point to the creative decision making mostly at Deck 9.
Yeah,
That's what it
that's
seems like.
kind of what I assumed going in.
Yeah, I don't think Telltale is just putting their name on it, though. I think they're really, like, they are part of the development. Um,
Right. A
but yeah,
co-developed
we,
product.
we can talk mostly about Deck 9 here.
Okay. So I haven't played any of Deck Nine's other games. If I'm correct, they did one of the Life is Strange games.
Yeah, I think they did two of them, actually. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
they've done Life is Strange, and Life is Strange has been compared many times to Telltale games.
Right. I never played it, but I have a friend who's been trying to get me to play it, and I will someday. But
Yeah,
I feel like when I have so many of these games I have to play for the podcast, I'm
hmm
just not in a huge hurry to play one outside of that.
yeah, totally. I'm in the same boat. I have not played Life is Strange. It is a great someday game, though.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah,
high
totally.
quality, we'll get to
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So with all that in mind, we've talked about the bit we need to talk about. Dustin,
Yes.
what do you think?
What did old Dustin think of The Expanse episode 1?
Archer's Paradox.
I thought it was All right. So here's my thing with it. It's just not my like it's not what appeals to me personally, but I thought it was still, very professionally done. Um it's it's just I don't want to say it's like an uphill battle because it's not like I was going into this kicking and screaming or anything. It's just one of those things that I feel like at least at this point, like when
Hmm.
we're only one episode in, I can only get like so invested in it, just because it's not really my thing, and nothing against it, nothing against any of it. Like I said, I still think it was pretty all right. There was some cool stuff in it I enjoyed. I just don't know if I'm like super gripped as of finishing episode one, but there's are there 4 or 5 more episodes left? Because we got the
Right.
extra episode, right?
That is a good question. There are officially 5 total episodes, but then
Okay.
also a bonus episode, which might not be a full episode length or anything like that, or maybe it's more. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
It's
very
hard to tell.
curious about what it'll, because that's not something we've seen in these Telltale games so far, is like just a bonus episode. Like I would assume that means it's not crucial, but so who knows exactly what's gonna be in it.
Yeah, I assume that it'll be like 400 days.
Yeah, just something, just like a little bonus thing at the end.
Yeah, and not like Sam and Max season one, where it just turned out to have 6 episodes.
Right, yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, like I don't want to sound like I disliked it or anything. I'm not gonna be Mr. Sourpuss about it like I was other games we've played. Um, but for what it is, I can see the talent put into it. It's a very it's a very good looking game. And like I said,
Hmm.
there are still some things I thought were cool about it. But Mitchell, what did you think of it?
Um, I think my immediate first instinct here is to say they really should have launched with 2 episodes.
Yeah, this episode was pretty
It
short.
it pretty short and small in scale. Well,
Yeah,
small in scale in some ways. In other ways, it's kind of enormous. But it,
I
it it
guess
didn't
it's
take that long to play through.
yeah, I guess it's not like the biggest deal in the world, especially since you're only going to be waiting like it's 2 weeks for each episode, right? Every other
Hmm.
week they're putting out another one. So I think starting off with a smaller chapter isn't necessarily that big a problem as it would have been in the past if you're waiting like a month to upward. Um, yeah, I think it's fine if you're only waiting like a couple weeks.
I I think so too. But I know that like if I drop something for 2 weeks and I wasn't really like hyped on getting back on it, and I don't have a podcast to commit me to it or anything, that is enough time to drop it. So
That's
I am
true.
nervous about that for its chances with people who are coming in blind. Because my other big thought is, I think I got a lot out of it just from having watched the first season of the television show The Expanse.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that's cool. So I did not.
Right.
I did not
Um,
watch it, but that. So you think that watching even just that first season really helped you out here?
Maybe even just like a few episodes, because I never met Kamina Drummer in that time that
Oh,
I watched the show. She's not in the first season. I think she's in the second season later on, and that's
okay.
where she like comes in. But just the world that we're dealing with here, where like there are 3 established like long-term civilizations. You've got Earth and Mars and the asteroid belt, and knowing a little bit, like just a little bit about how each of them are, make this universe feel a lot fuller, because we saw one ship with one crew explore one wreckage in this
Yeah.
episode, and that's really what it was. So it's like it, I have seen the dwarf planet Ceres in the asteroid belt. That's like a big setting in the show,
Ooh.
And it's a cool setting. I think Ceres looks awesome. Uh, and if we go there, I'm excited to see that in this game. Especially because there would be a lot of people there. And it's kind of like... oh man, please think of a better example. Okay, I couldn't think of a better example. It's like Rogueport from Paper Mario.
Hey, that's a good example.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. There's just like a lot of, sort of grimy alleyways, and people are not living super wealthily, but there's all
kind
these
of
like
a scummy
little...
area.
Kind of a scummy area. But also there's this like very concentrated bit of wealth out to the side. Where they have these big like opulent rooms, but like a luxury in this world is having like a house plant because oxygen is scarce. So it's seen as like a really extravagant to have a house plant, because you have to spend water on it too, which is one of the highest priced commodities in the asteroid belt. Because you don't have like natural flowing water.
I don't even have a house plant.
You could though.
That's true. It wouldn't be hard.
Yeah. Are you okay?
Because I don't have a house plant?
No, I barely have a house plant. I've got a little cactus that I named Scott Calcula.
That's something.
Yeah. It is something.
I wouldn't mind getting a little cactus.
So just having the knowledge that like Earth is probably the wealthiest of the places because it's the most established, but it's also a little used up. And then Mars is this very militaristic place, and the asteroid belt is really like the slums of the solar system. Just from that, I have a little bit enough to work through how I want to feel about some of the things they're saying in this game, because they are not gentle, is what I'll say. Yeah, they are not gentle about just saying, wow, I can't believe I'm hanging out with a Martian Marine. And you, the player, have to go like, because you don't like Mars? Or
what's the situation here?
Yeah. Like they said in interviews that they were really cognizant of making sure that this is a game that people who've never seen the show can play, because it is a prequel.
Right.
It takes place before the show. And I think you can, Dustin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think like, wow, they really are just saying a lot of stuff though that you won't know.
I mean, I think you can pretty easily just guess I mean, you can figure out what's going on. It's not like I was lost at any point during this. Like,
oh no, I don't think you'd be lost. I just
like you get the context of it. I think.
Yeah, it's not negatively. I don't believe it would be negatively affecting, but I do believe that you are missing some of the positively affecting things.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, just like, oh, I don't know why on earth I would care about this character. And like, well, if you have a little bit of a grounding on it, you will care more about this character.
Right, I get that.
Yeah, even though all of these characters, even including Drummer, to me are new. Just because I think they are all new characters except for Drummer, and I haven't seen Drummer.
Right, but even just having that little bit of context for this world kind of goes a long way.
It goes a long way. It made me feel like I had a better grasp on some of the stakes. For instance, okay, one of the biggest choices in this episode, we're jumping ahead a little bit. A crewmate of yours, Reyes, he gets his leg trapped in a way that you can't possibly have guessed how he gets his leg trapped. Like it's just sort of like between two walls. Like, did you put it in there? How did that happen for you?
Why did you make this choice?
Right? Like, how could he have done that to himself? But yeah, so he's got his leg trapped between the wall and a crate full of supplies. And just from seeing the show, I think it gave me a little bit, probably not like a super necessary amount of context of like how much do I think that crate of supplies is worth? Is it worth
Uh-huh.
killing a guy? Or at least cutting off his leg? And also, probably much more important, I've seen someone's limbs get taken off and then they can regrow them because it's the future.
Oh, because it's the future.
Yeah.
I That's such a good imagine saying that to him. Don't worry, your leg will grow back. It's the future.
Yeah, I've said that whenever whenever we're talking about like going somewhere with my friends and they're like, it's pretty far, and I go, no, I can drive. It's the future.
It's the future. Don't worry about it.
It's the future to someone is the new
Yeah.
like it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, it's the Jetsons.
Um, yeah, so I had the knowledge of like, if this guy loses a leg, he does not have to always have it be gone.
Right.
So that affected a choice a little bit, and there's other things like that throughout the episode that you just get a little bit more out of it, maybe a little bit. I will say the biggest and coolest thing about this episode has nothing to do with knowing the show, which is that you spend a lot of time exploring in zero G.
Yeah, that's one of the parts I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really good. I really like it.
Yeah, like you're still for the most part just kind of going down hallways, but it still feels cool to just be like, "Oh, I could be upside down if I wanted."
Yeah, there's so it's the wreckage of the UNN something. I don't have that one in my notes.
I wrote it down.
Oh, did you?
It's a UNN Urshanabi.
Urshanabi. And the UNN is the United Nations N. But like just from Earth, basically. And the Urshanabi is broken into three huge parts. It was blown up or cut up by some sort of aggressor pirate ship. And you are exploring the hallways of these three parts. They're big enough where you and spread out enough where you really are like, it feels cool and explorative to go around and go through these hallways, find new things.
You can find
But
like recordings by some of the crew.
yeah, but small enough that it doesn't turn into like a full adventure game. It's still at the heart of it is Telltale games where you're doing the choice, but like they'll give you a couple like side missions every now and again,
Yeah.
saying things like, "Hey, did you hear from the doctor that we need a new shiny crystal? And there's probably one on this ship somewhere. Maybe you should go and look around for it on your downtime, on your free time, when you're not doing
I
anything."
I did not find that crystal. I tried, but I didn't.
I almost didn't, but I did. Because I
Good
was
job.
looking for it for a very long time. And I eventually found where it was. It was under. Like, there was one hallway that was sticking out like a little tube under the space. Like, it not viewable from the center of the three things.
Uh-huh.
So you had to, like, really trek around one of these tubes. And then, like, there was one hallway eventually where I found. Like there was a light glowing out of it. There was a red light, and I was like, "Oh, I don't think I saw a red light before." But I was sure I had like circled all of the tubes like 3 times,
Right.
and then I went in, and then that's where it was.
Good job. Look at you finding crystals.
Yeah, and it was hard to find, and kind of fun to find. Didn't nothing happened for having it yet, and that is probably another big reason why we should have probably gotten 2 episodes on the first
Yeah.
day.
I will say one thought I had about just having the one episode is I feel like having just one episode and having it be so short
Mm-hmm.
means that newcomers such as I
Yeah.
are not overloaded with so much stuff. Like
Oh,
like they're
totally.
not throwing a whole bunch of things out that you have to remember. Like it's just enough that if you're new and don't know any of this shit, you can grab the basics pretty easily.
Yeah, and like beyond that, it's short in play time. It was probably only like an hour 15 for me, something like that.
Yeah. It's hard for me to really know how long it took me because I was juggling it between taking notes and
Hmm.
messaging some people here and
Right.
there.
Yeah,
But
I always write a
yeah,
full page of notes during an episode, so my ones are a little longer. But even then, it felt like I don't think it was much longer than an hour 15. Like
right,
it's pretty short. But the space that you're exploring is enormous because of just how large the wreckage of the UNN Urshinabi is and how it's all spread out. How there's all these little, like, smaller things to find around the thing that are not critical for you completing the missions, but you'll get, like, extra mission logs or something like that.
right.
Cool stuff.
I like stuff that emphasizes exploration.
I also like stuff that emphasizes exploration.
Wow.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that if you were like a diehard fan of the Walking Dead style of Telltale game, the introduction of this real time mechanic all of a sudden, I could totally see it putting someone off.
Right.
If this isn't the kind of thing they've ever liked out of video games, I will say it is exactly the kind of thing I like out of video games. So I'm into it, and it's so fun to just like drift around everywhere and just explore everywhere, like from a real 3D angle. There's a lot of things where you need to like you're looking around a room and you're trying to find something and you don't see it and you're wondering like where is it? And then you look up and there's a big hole in the ceiling and you can just go up. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool stuff.
Yeah, totally. I thought exploring was even as someone who isn't particularly into this general sort of setting and story, I still thought it was fun exploring around, finding stuff
Hmm.
like the logs and dead bodies.
There was an interview that came out of either Telltale or Deck Nine, where someone responsible for the game was saying like Sam and Max was Telltale's big jump into point and click adventures, and even though Bone did happen first, and then The Walking Dead was Telltale's big jump into narrative choices mattering throughout their stories, even though Jurassic Park kind of did that style first, and then this is the big jump into zero G exploration. And when they said that, I thought, well, come on, man, that's clearly not the same category of thing you're
Yeah,
talking
that
about.
that seems more just this. I don't think we're
Yeah,
gonna be having zero G exploration in like The Wolf Among Us 2. Maybe.
I wouldn't be mad. I think that would be cool. I
No, I
I'm
wouldn't be mad. I'm just saying I would not expect it, but I'd be into it.
what I will say about it is, if Wolf Among Us 2 had like level design where you go and explore through a street, and maybe you can like knock on different doors and talk to people down the street, um, that would be cool.
That'd
Have a
be
more
neat.
like
I'd be
open like street corner thing.
Yeah, let you like talk to various inhabitants.
Inhabitants, yeah, inhabitants are key.
I hope Mr.
They're
Toad's
there.
back.
I don't think he is. I think he was shipped off to the that
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
that ward,
They should put him in
the
the
farm.
Expanse.
They should put him in the Expanse. Yeah, it is the
Yeah,
future. So,
yeah, yeah. Toad's in space.
hmm uh, yeah. So I think like more necessarily than the zero G, which is like I guess the fun marketing thing to talk about with this game, and is very cool. Just the fact that like there's level design in this Telltale game. Have we
Yeah.
seen that?
Um.
Like obviously we've had level design in most of the adventure games, like the point and click ones, but they were almost always more environment art driven, and it was fine just like having a flat plane where some things are over here and some things are over here, there.
Yeah.
But here, it really matters how the hallway system of the Urshinabi is like split up
Hmm.
and how the exploration of the space works.
Yeah. I don't think we've seen anything specifically like that in a Telltale game before.
Yeah, like this is level design where they had, I'm sure, had to like block out and prototype and test like, well, does this feel good or does that feel good? And compare that to like Strong Bad, where yes, I'm sure they did that for that game too, to a degree. But it would work if you moved like the stick to the other side of the car. You know?
Does the stick feel better here or there? Where should Bubs? To be fair, they do let you put any location anywhere on your map.
I guess that's how little it matters in that game then, right?
Right. Yeah, put it wherever it feels good.
Where do you think the stick is in relationship to the car?
Do you think Bubs lives next door to Marzipan's house?
I do. I do think that. Yeah, so like I would point to this genuinely being one of those kinds of big moments for Telltale, like Sam & Max and Walking Dead were, but I wouldn't point at the Zero G. I would just point at the fact of exploration in general.
Yeah,
that
totally.
is the cool new addition, and that works.
Yeah, I totally agree. You could, maybe it's just because we've played so many of these up until now, but you really can just feel what a big departure that is. It just feels much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the episode is shorter.
Yeah, totally. In the credits, there were 2 level designers listed, which is, I don't know if I was seeing that just for this episode, in which case, yeah, cool. But if it's for the whole season, wow, just 2, they had a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Designing these
yeah,
things.
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, like, one person would normally do a level, or that's not the way I meant to say that. A level like this would normally go to one person, but if every piece of level in all of the season is just these 2 level designers, then really impressive.
Yeah, good job, level designers.
Yeah, high quality stuff. Let's talk about the story.
Okay.
What did you think about the story? What you like the most, and what did you dislike the most? Okay, yeah, you know what? That was way too open ended on my part. What'd you think of Kamina Drummer?
I don't know how I feel about her yet. She seems, to me, she seems pretty distant from a lot of the crew. I mean, I'll say that in general. I feel like maybe the character relationships I didn't really grasp onto yet.
Yeah, we got a lot between Maya and Kamina.
Yeah, I like that. I like seeing. I have it in my notes. Oh, these 2 are friends at least.
Mm-hmm. And then Cox and Drummer obviously have a very specific relationship, but
yeah,
a lot of people on the ship, they feel like they just met each other, and I kind of see why they're going for that. They want to they want to have you establish the group, right?
Yeah.
But it does feel somewhat cold because of that. It feels a little cold.
I think that sums up how I feel about most of the characters, and it just kind of cold.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like that friendly relationship between her and Maya goes a long way. It at least shows that you have some sort of relationship with someone on this ship.
Right. Yeah, and you do. You have a fairly friendly relationship with someone who has the best joke in the episode. Did you find this where you can look at a container on the outside of the wreckage of the Urshinabi, and you can take something out of it, and then you hear on the comms, Maya says, "Drummer, did you just take that off that pressure sensitive chamber? You need to get out of there now. That thing's gonna blow in 5, 4," and then like nothing happens, and she was just joking about it the whole time.
I didn't get that, but they mentioned that in the choices at the end, and so yeah, I was like, oh, I guess I missed that one.
Yeah. It's fine. I mean, it's just a little moment, but yeah,
it sounds fun.
Well, that's what this podcast is for.
We're just having some fun.
Yeah, we're just having some fun talking about little moments. Yeah, so just between the little bit of introduction you get to every character on the Artemis, which is your group's ship, before you actually go into the meat of the level on the Urshinabi is it's enough. But yeah, there are times where I think I've been better acquainted with characters right off the bat. Like, we always bring it up, but Tales from the Borderlands Season 1, Episode 1.
That just does such a good job. That's exactly, before you even said it, that's where my mind went.
Yeah, between Reese and Chris Hardwick and Fiona, like you know those characters so well just after that one episode. Patrick Warburton, his whole deal is explained very well and very succinctly.
Right.
And you start to enjoy and dislike characters in that world right off the bat. You start to like think through planning of, well, if I'm ever going to have to choose between Reese and Patrick Warburton, I'm going to choose Reese because Patrick Warburton is rude to me. And
he was so mean.
I don't really get so much of that with this crew immediately.
Yeah. And, hopefully they'll have more time to show these characters off in the future. But right now, none of them really... Like, I'll tell you now, it was a little hard picking a weekly guy for this episode. But, yeah, I do like that you get some little bits. Like, I like that you can tell Khan and Drummer don't have a super good relationship with one another. Like, there's, like you said, there's enough there that you can kind of get an idea. A little bit.
Anyway. Sort of, yeah. Because, like, with Khan is the... I forget exactly what Khan is. I think they said she's, like, a pilot.
Right.
And Drummer, like, early on the episode, you're supposed to just tell everyone you're leaving. So you go up to Khan and go, hey, we're leaving. And do you have any, like, an ETA and when we're going to get there? And Khan goes, it depends if you keep distracting me and fucking talking to me, dork. And you have to just, like, live
stupid
with
idiot.
How rude that is. Which, like, yeah, it's good to have characters of all stripes because, like, Maya is kind of the opposite, where she's really friendly and familial with you, to the point where they might be setting up like a romantic thing. I mean, I would feel pretty strongly that they are between Drummer and Maya. I just don't know that for sure because I don't know Drummer's status in the show.
Yeah, but it's like, come on, Khan, we're in space. Be nice.
And like her being that way kind of prohibits me from learning anything deeper about her. So right. I don't feel like we made that connection. And then with the twins, the twins are better, but I still kind of don't feel like I made that deeper connection with the twins.
No, totally. I totally agree.
The twins are Reyes and Arlen. And they have like little fights with each other all the time. That's kind of their defining thing.
Mm-hmm. But it's a little hard to tell whether or not their fights are like serious or not. I was kind of like,
yeah,
like I was like, is he like actually being mean?
Yeah, because like Arlen puts his brother Reyes in a headlock, and you see brothers fight in like brotherly media kind of often, right? Right. They do that like hand slapping thing a little bit where they put like hand just to push them against each other. And that is something that I think people can relate to. And then Arlen was saying things like, wow, you really fucked up this time. You broke your thing. And it didn't seem friendly. It suddenly didn't seem fun at all.
Yeah, it sounded like you should have cut my brother's leg off, you idiot.
Oh, yeah. So I'm guessing you didn't, by the way.
I did not.
I also did not.
One thing, you know what? I'll save it for the end. I had something that really stuck out to me. I don't want to jump
about one of the twins.
Yet. No, just about the game in general.
Okay, yeah. So like Reyes is kind of a klutz, and he's the meeker of the twins, and Arlen's a little bit of a bully. And you have an option early on to establish dominance or not by punching Arlen in the face. And I did do that.
I didn't. I was just like, well, because at first I did think it was just kind of...
They're going to walk all over you, Dustin.
Well, no, I was like, I want to see this. I'm just gonna watch you put him in a headlock. Because I didn't think it was like serious.
Oh, this is two separate choices though, because the first choice is to break up the fight or not, and then I did break them up,
Oh yeah, I didn't. I just watched. I was
and
like,
then
okay.
after that, Arlen like steps to me a little bit, and he's like, "Well, so what? You think you're so important?" And I'm thinking like, I'm the XO on the ship. I gotta do something. So I punch him in the face, and because he was being out of line, he was straight up being out of line. Uncool,
See,
Arlen.
that well, that kind of reminds me of some other Telltale choices where it seems like the two options are maybe more extreme than you would go. One option is to ignore him and to just let it slide, and the other is to just sock him in the face.
Yeah,
What if I want to be stern but not like get physical? Like you should be able to assert dominance without fucking punching him right in the face.
they're gonna walk all over you, buddy.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's either walk all over me or slam him so hard in his little head.
On my ship, you get slammed a little bit.
Just a little slamming.
Uh, yeah. So that's the full cast of characters. Oh, and Cox is the captain of the ship. And I guess the centerpiece of this episode is uh, dealing with the choices of Captain Garrison Cox.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, there's also Virgil.
oh, Virgil, right? Yeah, he's the doctor.
Yeah, he seems nice. He seems like one of the nicer guys on the ship.
Yeah, but he's also kind of like just nice right now.
Yeah,
I bet he's
not
got
really
stuff to
much
do.
else.
I haven't seen anything from Telltale or Deck 9 that makes me think these characters are going to like stay this way. But this is just one of the many reasons that like hey, the episode was really short. It was even shorter than like a lot of the later Telltale games, which were shorter than the earlier Telltale games.
Right.
And these characters haven't like made maybe enough of a presence for themselves yet. And we're given the access to a lot of choices here. There were 10 choices listed at the end of the episode.
Yeah, so like this is the thing I was talking about earlier that I was going to bring up. It felt like every single dialogue choice you got. Like I like being told what choices were in the episode, but I don't know if I need like this many. I don't know if I need like did you say this or this? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay. Uh it
Well,
just seems like overkill. It kind of belittles some of the other choices just a smidge.
do you know? Here's why I think it feels a little bit like overkill.
Okay.
Aside from the number of them, we don't get the importance of them this episode
Yeah.
of almost any of them. So like keeping the leg or not, do you think even if we didn't have the leg that we'd find out what that does this episode? Or like the relationship with Maya with getting the upper hand on her in the fight or laughing at her prank. I like that doesn't seem to translate into anything now, but I'm sure it will. It'll start snowballing. It always does.
Right, but I mean like all of them?
No, certainly not all of them, but any of them because they currently do none of them.
Yeah, it just seemed like a lot and like I think about how other Telltale games about how you'll make choices with your dialogue and who to talk to and stuff, but they know those are just like, okay, these aren't that important, but they're still choices you can make.
Yeah.
We will just keep the important ones for the end. And like I don't think you lose that much by having this many choices. I'm just kind of confused a little bit. But yeah, it's possible. Wouldn't it be something if like all of these had some sort of importance? I don't believe that'll happen,
Well,
but
they normally show us 5 at the end of the episode, but I don't really
yeah,
think that this episode has any more than normal. I think it just is listing them all.
yeah, no, that's what I mean. It lists way more than
It
your
does.
average Telltale game to the point where I'm like, did this really need to? Like one of the ones at the end was I wrote down 23% drummer didn't talk to Khan about the pirates. 45% asked Khan about her past with pirates. 32% didn't ask.
Okay. Yeah, no, good point. Fair.
I was just kind of like, is that one you really needed to tell me? Do I need to know that that percentage of people chose not to ask or didn't engage at all?
So let's talk about the core narrative of this episode.
Okay.
Um, you are on the ship the Artemis, led by Captain Garrison Cox. He tells everyone that this is the last score you'll ever need. We're just going to salvage the important, valuable stuff out of this ship, and then we'll be golden. We'll all be so rich. I'm breaking out the expensive booze right now in order to toast to you to emphasize this point.
Drink up.
And then you go there. You do find a bit where Reyes gets his leg trapped in a storage container. You have to let the storage container go. Cox says over the radio, well, it's less money. And that's what we did. Also, you could, cut off Reyes' leg. And everyone seems to be very down with this on the comms, except for Maya. Maya's the only one who thinks, like, maybe you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, she said you did the right thing. And then everyone else is like, come on, you should have cut off the leg.
I don't think Virgil makes a point about it, but I bet he would say that he's on the side of you keeping the leg too.
Yeah.
Even Reyes' brother, his twin brother Arlen's like, yeah, cut the leg off.
Yeah, then I will be the dominant twin.
I'll be so much heavier.
I will have 2 legs and he will only have 1. We will be similar in every way except that.
Yeah, so I'm sure that you can save him because I would doubt that he dies. But like what they say on the radio when that happens is, Virgil says that with a wound like that near the artery and like near the artery, it's the whole leg. You're gonna have a risk of dying. So it's not just losing a leg, it's like possibly dying, which is why I chose to jettison the cargo because, like, of course, if someone's gonna die, let's not.
Especially twins. You think like they bring in twins, so you don't.
So you can spare one.
Yeah, one will be expendable.
Oh, that's like the Weasley brothers situation. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You still got one.
You're allowed to spend one of them.
That was the whole point.
Yeah. I wanted to just empty the container.
Right. Just, take it all with us. And then also
take the stuff out and then jettison the container. And then put that stuff in another container.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want you to do that.
Yeah, well,
Happens.
Yeah, it happens. I guess sometimes you don't think about stuff like that. Sometimes you have only 2 choices.
So the other thing that happens is that once you go in here, you're trying to figure out, like, what happened to the ship? We don't even know what happened. Every crew member's head has been cut off. And in the entryway, the first thing you see when you come into the ship is a room full of floating heads.
What a scene to see.
Yeah, it's really gross.
Yeah, you know what my favorite part of it is, though? Walking through and pushing the heads away.
It did make it funny immediately, I will say.
Just the animation of their heads, like, floating faster than you would expect away from you.
Yeah, one of them got out of the room, because it's a real physics object in 0G. One of them got out of the room ahead of me, and I just, like, kept finding it following me around. And it definitely takes away from, like, the grim, queasy feeling I think it wants you to have about it.
You get back in there.
Yeah, I named it Gerald.
Gerald, you're my sidekick now.
Yeah, so you're trying to figure out why that happened. Oh, by the way, brief side note, was it not just last episode, Dustin, when I was trying to think of who in the Telltale Games universe is named Maya? We have one now.
That's true. Now we do. We have a Maya. You would have been so right if this had come out like a week earlier.
Yeah, at the time I said that, there wasn't one. And then they made a new game with a Maya in it just for me.
Yeah, well, they did it right after you said there was, so they could have been a little. If it was just for you, I feel like it would have been more helpful if it were earlier. Now it seems like adding insult to injury.
Doing something for me out of spite is still doing something for me.
They're like, Mitchell, you look so foolish. Maya, this is Maya now.
And she's from Mars and everything.
You you would have nailed it. You would not have looked so bad.
Yeah, well, anyway, that kind of precognition is why I make the big bucks on this podcast.
That's true. That's who comes out laughing in the end.
So you go through the ship, and you eventually find the captain's quarters, where he also has been decapitated, and you find in a safe in his room this data storage disk of some sort. You wire it back to Cox, and then Cox receives the data, and he's looking through it, and then he goes, "Hey, drummer, you should check out the exhaust on our ship before you go. It's really important that you see it." And then you go down there, and then Cox turns the ship on, like trying to burn you up, and you just barely like crawl along the side back up in. And his plan to kill you did not work. It didn't take.
Yeah, better luck next time, huh, Chief?
Yep.
Yeah, what a shit sucker.
Mm-hmm. So then you kind of lead a mutiny against Cox. Khan gets shot in the arm in the process. And you have this interrogation with Cox when he's in the airlock, which is the in media res scene we saw at the very beginning of the episode before the 8 hours earlier mark, showing what happened earlier that day.
What I thought was very funny about this scene, like it's not meant to be funny, but I just thought it was kind of funny how it played out, was how so Cox tries to kill you. You make it back onto the ship and you see him like giving you a sort of eulogy to the rest of the crew, like drummer wouldn't want us to waste oxygen morning, blah blah blah. And then drummer shows back up alive, and then Cox is immediately like, she's trying to mutiny against me.
Yeah.
Stop her.
Yeah. And then even the twins are like, maybe, dude, but we're not gonna. It's just such a bad argument from you.
Yeah, it doesn't make you look good when you're trying to say someone died, and then they're trying to say you tried to kill them, and then you immediately say, "Oh, they're trying to mutiny. Stop them, please."
Yeah, and there's a lot of like subtext going on through the episode that is never the point of the plot, but it has a lot to do with discrimination against belters. Both of the twins are belters. You, as community drummer, are belters. They're sometimes derogatorily called skinnies, which is treated like a very, very bad word. Because on the asteroid belt, you're on something like Ceres, very, very low source of gravity on these asteroids. So your bones get skinnier and longer, and you get taller but thinner, just as the result of living in that zero-G environment. Right. And people from Earth and from Mars seem to really look down on these people, including Cox, who is an Earther. And there was like this moment where the twins join in to help Drummer, and then Cox is thinking like, "Oh, I would have thought you people would have worked together. I should have seen this coming." And it seems rude immediately.
It's like, whoa, dude.
Yeah.
You tried to kill a person.
You tried to kill me, and then you're like, how dare you?
Yeah, I'm not the asshole here.
Yeah, and then like even in the airlock, as he's kind of pleading for his life, and he's explaining that on the data disk he found this thing called the MK core, which I haven't heard of, and Drummer hasn't heard of, which Cox says is the point, apparently.
Right.
But it's very valuable. That's why I was trying to get rid of you, because like it's gonna be a huge amount of money if we get this in. Even as he's saying it, he's saying things like, "Okay, yeah, I tried to kill you with the exhaust of the rockets."
Who hasn't?
But here's why: there was like a lot of money.
I guess you're right. I didn't consider that it was a lot of money.
So then you're given like the big choice of the episode. which is either space him, which is to shoot him out the airlock,
I thought that was some funny terminology.
or just put him in the brig.
Yeah, I'm. What did you do, Mitchell? I think I have an idea.
Spaced him right out.
You spaced him out?
Was that not your
I
idea?
No, I put him in the brig because he's right. I could use whatever information he has.
I spaced him because he tried to kill me 20 minutes ago. he was
Right, no, that makes sense.
he was my captain on the ship, and he literally said, I only tried to kill you in order to get a smaller number of shares on the bounty we're about to get. And I'm thinking, well, if I leave you around, then you're probably still going to try to do that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, meet space.
Have fun.
Yeah, just like a actually very greedy psychopath. I can't. There's no room. There's no room on the ship.
Right. Yeah, I did not. Yeah, just because he said, "Look, I can help you. I got info on this. You could really use me." And I was like, "Shit, you're right. I guess." I feel like it would have been too hasty to at least space him right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I get better safe than sorry as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad we have both of those because that does seem like the biggest choice in the episode in terms of determining what happens next. So we'll
Yeah, we're
have
gonna have
that
some
for the
different
podcast.
paths.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I feel very comfortable about spacing that guy. Um, yeah. So anything else we want to talk about?
Um, Not really. I mean, it's not a super long episode. There really isn't that much that we covered everything that I can think of.
Yeah, it's fairly short. It's fairly short and somewhat tropey, in kind of a fun way, but it definitely makes it feel like we've seen these tropes before. When the guy says it's our last score and then we're out, and then Kamina Drummer is like setting everything up, and she goes, "It's in and out, no games." And then you're like, well, okay, well, I've seen this heist movie before.
I've got news for you, drummer. We're
There's going to be
actually
some
playing.
games.
We're actually playing a game right now.
Yeah. Full camera control is also, I think, a Telltale first.
Yeah,
We
I
had
think
it
so.
in, I think we had it in New Tales. That was like pretty full camera control.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is really a lot, and
Yeah,
it
some
just
new horizons.
it certainly feels like the most. I mean, I'm playing on my PS5. I'm playing it in 4K Ultra HD
Ooh,
with
I'm
the
doing the
color
same on
correcting.
my I'm doing the same on my Xbox Series X.
Feels like the most high tech game we've played on this show.
Yeah, visually very incredible.
Hmm.
I will say I was surprised at how long some of the loading times were, even on these modern systems.
Oh, I don't think I had that issue. Mm, like when?
Just at various points, it felt like at least for like a Series X game, I had a couple load times that weren't like egregious. They weren't like awful, but just being on the Series X had me a little like, oh, this is a little longer than I would have expected.
But like the main part of the episode is all that open area with no loading, though, right? You didn't have loading anywhere in the 0G section, did you?
I remember having a somewhat long load time when was it? Oh shit! I should have marked it down. I just remember like two specific. I think maybe it was getting to the ship,
Okay. Yeah, I
and
mean that
then
would be the big loading thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think pretty good. Even though, like was it like a minute long? Like, was it a really long load?
No, it was maybe like 30 seconds, but just given the fact that we're on these, I guess I've just gotten used to like every game I play having like no load times on
Wow.
the Series X.
Well, write it
Uh,
down. I guess PlayStation is just for big kids, and maybe Xbox is for little babies.
hey man,
I guess. I didn't know that.
You bring this in here.
I'm going off what you're telling me.
I really fucked myself.
Yeah, I think in terms of Telltale being back, it definitely feels like a Telltale game in the way they did them, huh? Like that's the big thing I was wondering, like, is it really going to feel like they're back? Or is it going to feel like, well, other people are kind of doing this sort of style?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean that's kind of how New Tales from the Borderlands felt. How like it felt like some things felt very telltale like the dialogue options,
mhm.
but like especially the way they like handled the choices and just we've already talked about all our problems with it in general. It felt more like we're gonna take some telltale things, but not necessarily
Yeah.
all of it. This I think feels closer.
Yeah, we're definitely back, is I guess the thesis of what we're saying right now.
Yeah,
Uh, it's an honest to goodness Telltale game made by Telltale and Deck Nine. They really did it. I will say that things like New Tales from the Borderlands had more similarities in terms of like scope per episode with some of the bigger Telltale games. Because this,
right.
like, yeah, we said it a lot of times per episode, but like this episode is short. It's really bite sized, and
Yeah, and not
yeah,
just in playtime, but it just felt like in terms of the story, not a whole lot was. It didn't feel like as much was not as much happened compared to what I'm used to.
yeah. I think it like in another Telltale game, there would have just been at least one more setting to see, and
Yeah,
there would have been even in episode one, having to deal with the ramifications of a choice you made in an obvious way.
yeah. You know what I think part of it also is. Even though we said this part was cool, part of it might just be you're just floating, exploring the ship for so long that it feels like not as much is actually done.
Well, not
It,
that long though, right? That's kind of the point. Like, if it was actually so long, if it was, you're exploring the ship for like a good amount of time, then that would have been a different kind of thing.
right, but I'd say we spent more time. Well, maybe not more time, but I feel like a good chunk of the episode is still that compared to like interacting with the crewmates, for
Yes.
example, or
Yeah,
making
yeah,
those
yeah.
big choices. So it does just feel like not a whole lot happens because a good chunk of it, not a whole lot is happening. But
Hmm.
it is episode one of a game they're releasing like 2 weeks at a time. So I assume it'll ramp up.
Yeah, and this is with the way that they're incorporating exploration into this game. Uh, I do want to see more of that, but I also think there's a very clear route for them to go even further
Yeah,
and push it harder, and show like what if there was a big area to explore where there was like stuff in it. That sounds a little demeaning, and I don't mean it to, but like you're literally in the vacuum of space in this
yeah,
game. If there was a bunch of NPCs that you might or might not find if you fully explore a space, or even more side questy type stuff that has you do stuff when you find it rather than just like find a thing.
yeah,
That could be an interesting space for New Telltale to explore.
yeah, totally. But I gotta say, Mitchell did not see any Benang.
Didn't see any Benang. Yeah, dang. I didn't see a. Um,
Do you think
I
there
didn't
could be
see
like a
like an
hidden?
eating place at all.
Do you think there could be like a hidden Benang bottle, like as some of the floating debris in the ship?
Well, it made me wonder who owns Benang,
Hmm.
legally.
Yeah, that's a good
I bet
question.
they don't know.
Yeah.
Because if it, what was the first one? Was the first one Sam and Max?
Sam and Max season two.
That could theoretically mean Skunk Ape owns it.
That's a good point.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
then it's still in a lot of the games Telltale themselves re-release. It's an interesting situation. Maybe there's some sort of mystery behind this Benang business.
Well, Telltale doesn't release the Walking Dead ones.
Right, but
Was
I
it in
mean,
Batman?
oh, was it in Batman?
Because
Now
that's
I
the
don't
only other
remember.
one they re-released.
Oh, no, they put up a bunch of the.
That's not re-releasing though. That's like getting the rights to sell one game is not the same as like having the rights to everything in it.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. I thought it was.
I mean I don't think so. They're
Well, that is what I meant.
okay.
Just like having the rights to put those old games back up. Uh, which I mean, I guess Benang was already in there. What are they going to do? Take it out?
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're going to take it out. Like they were selling. I guess they're not doing it anymore. But they were selling Strong Bad for a while. They don't have the rights to any of the Homestar stuff
Yeah,
outside of that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's the episode. I think.
I think
Uh,
so as well.
Congratulations, Telltale, on releasing a video game after a long slumber.
Yeah, good for you.
We are excited to see how it ends. What is your choice cut?
Whether or not to release Cox into space, because like
Sure.
I felt pretty good about my choice, and you sound pretty good about your choice. For me, it was pretty obvious. I was like, no, I need to keep this guy around at least for a little longer. But I still like that you're just totally allowed to go, no, you're out of here. You're Dunyan Rings, mister.
Yeah, I just feel like he's so Dunyan Rings to me. If I kept him around, I would keep looking for like glass bottles to shank him with and stuff.
Right. No, I get that.
Yeah. So there's that. My choice cut, I think, is just at the very beginning. I guess the one you didn't get access to, which is choosing whether or not you want to punch Arlen in the face. Because
No,
that did
I got
feel like a
access
big.
to it.
Oh, punching him you
I,
had access to?
yeah, I think the choice was you could choose to ignore him or punch him, and I just ignored him.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean that felt like establishing, am I going to make a connection with this crew in the way that befits my position as XO on a ship? Which is an
Yeah,
interesting character dynamic because I don't think we've ever really got a position like this before where we're just like a professional.
hmm,
Like more than a nice person, you're a professional. Um, we get like Bigby, who has a lot of like gray moral stuff, and we get Reese, who is a professional, but like his job is silly. So it
his
kind of
job is silly.
his job is just kind of like whatever you can think you can convince people is what he does is what he does. Um, yeah, so like having someone who's more focused on just like, hey, I need respect out of my people. I think that's an interesting RP vibe from a Telltale game we hadn't seen before.
Right.
So I was interested in being given that choice.
Different kind of character dynamic.
Yeah, because normally we're such Boy Scouts on this podcast about the things we choose to do. And we would be like, come on, don't make me
Yeah,
punch you.
I will say I was pushing back a little bit, like when Khan was giving me shit. I was like, hey,
Oh, that's
watch
interesting
it.
because I have the reverse of that. On Con, I was trying to be fun. I was trying to be nice. Keep it light. Keep it flaky. But
I wonder if
didn't work.
that exact choice for both of us affected what we did with the twins. Because I kind of feel like at first I was like, you know what? This character, at least so far, does feel kind of cold.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe I will be a little stern with Khan. But then I got to the twins and I was like, well, what if I lightened it up a little bit?
What's your golden moment?
Golden Moment was pushing the heads out of my way on the ship. I thought it was very funny.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's
It just made me laugh. I was like, get these birthday party decorations out of here.
it just because it's pure zero G. So they just float slowly in a perfect line and then like bonk and spin off the wall, and it's it is very funny,
Yeah,
and
if it
they
were real
have to
life,
have
it would
known
not
that.
be. Yeah, if it were real life, it would not have been quite as funny. But here in a video game, I'm
Yeah.
just like, this is great.
Mine is. Did you find the exercise bike?
No, I didn't find no exercise bike. What happened?
There's an exercise bike on a fairly small panel of debris, not in like the three main ones, just out where you can explore. And if you look at the exercise bike, Drummer says the inners have to work really hard to stay in shape out here in lower gravity. I think they should just stay back home. Inners referring to anyone, I guess, from inside the asteroid belt, like Earth and Mars.
Right.
And that is an interesting concept. That's just some good little world building in there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think I would do very poorly in lower gravity for that exact situation that I had not considered in my life before, because I cannot convince myself to exercise. I've tried. It's hard.
I don't even want to do an exercise bike normally.
Yeah, but I guess I would really have to if I was just living out there in the abyss. I guess the expanse is the word they used.
Yeah, there you go.
In the expanse.
Mitchell,
so I like finding that exercise bike.
Who's your weekly guy this week?
It's Maya. I think there was no one else that was like as fun and had as many as well-founded a relationship with anyone else in the crew as Maya.
Yeah, Maya's mine too, for that exact reason. Even Drummer, I'm not super sold on this protagonist yet.
Yeah, I feel like we never really are on episode 1 on the protagonist.
Sometimes.
I can see Drummer getting better later.
What about our boy Guybrush Threepwood? I guess that doesn't count. He's been established before.
Yeah, we know Threepwood. And I guess our
Reese,
our take on Bruce Wayne was pretty good episode 1, but even episode 1 I think there were other ones I chose.
Yeah, I think I didn't pick him until episode 2. Mm-hmm. Where I was fully on board with him.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne just kept getting better and better. Yeah, Drummer, I really hope also gets better and better. I know that there's a lot of people that like her character a lot from her show. Like, she's a standout character on the show.
That's good to hear.
I'm excited about that. And yeah, there's a great line. Not too many lines in this game. But I wrote this one down from Maya. You're exploring. You need to find someone, one of the officers' bodies. You need to get their hand in order to open a fingerprint door.
Mm-hmm. And
as you're looking around, just checking body after body to see if it's the right one, Maya's on the comms with you. And Maya asks you, like, wow, have you seen a massacre like this before? And Drummer goes, no, I haven't. Nothing like this anywhere. Looks like everyone just went Big Pakal over here. And Maya goes, what's Big Pakal? And Drummer explains that just means it's like Belter language for you go crazy. And then you look at one more body, and then Maya on the radio goes, this much violence seems pretty Big Pakal to me. Like, she just immediately is trying to use it.
Yes, this word I've known my whole life.
To the person who just told you the word. Great little moment. I knew in that moment that Maya was going to be the weekly guy.
Yeah, that's something I'll give this is it feels like a series like this, it would be so easy to just be like totally dry in, but there's some humor here and there thrown in.
You're so dialogue. Far from a civilization that you can just be whatever you want, really. You have a lot of free range. I guess not so much free range because this is a series with like 10 novels in it and a bunch of seasons of a television show. So it's fairly established, but you can have as many jokes as you want so far away from anything else that matters.
Yeah, totally. I'm glad.
Yeah. Did you get that line, by the way, the Big Pakal thing? Because that's so funny to me. I laughed really hard.
I forgot about it. I forgot about it, but I laughed.
It was that and moving the heads around that produced audible laughs out of me for this episode, which I didn't think was going to be a big laugher.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that's only 2, but that's more than I would have expected.
2 good ones, though. I really like those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's our segment. So I believe that's the show.
Good job, Mitchell. We did another show.
Good job, Dustin, for uh, saying good job to me and just keeping the environment really light.
Yeah, I think we killed it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to continue killing it every episode for the rest of our lives because on next week's episode, we're going to be jumping back into The Walking Dead: A New Frontier, Episode 2, The Ties That Bind, Part 2. So we'll finish, I guess we'll finally finish the first episode of that game, is one way to think about it.
Yeah, you know what? That is a good way to put it. I forgot that we're going to be going into part 2.
Of one episode. We'll have to see if it really feels like a two-parter or if it's just something that they decided to do.
Something they thought would be fun.
Yeah, so we'll see you there next week. And by the way, The Expanse comes out every 2 weeks. So we will keep getting these episodes as they are new. We're just going to be jumping between The Walking Dead: A New Frontier and The Expanse.
Right. Yeah, good plan. Good plan,
yep.
us.
Yeah, do you have any other thoughts about, like, what you want out of New Telltale?
I don't know. It's weird. I don't really. I'd have to see because we only have the one episode of this so far, so it's hard for me to really place my thoughts on where New Telltale is. I guess just more stuff. You know what I wouldn't mind? I wouldn't mind more lighthearted series because I feel like something that happened with the original Telltale and even this so far is it feels like a lot of M-rated titles, a lot of more adult series, except for like Minecraft. I wouldn't mind seeing a little more variety because we used to get like Sam and Max, Monkey Island, Wallace and Gromit, and like those weren't like little kid games. They were still, I think they were still like E10 plus or T. But you know, that's still more lighthearted, more jovial and cartoony. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of that rather than just more big Walking Dead-esque properties.
Yeah, we saw when you boot up the game for the first time, it asks you if you want to sign into your Telltale account, which I'm thinking like, perfect. I've had this account for actually 15 years. I'll go ahead and use it. And then it didn't work. And then I needed to log in on my phone, try to find out why it didn't work. And then it said, oh, you're trying to create your account right now. And I'm like, I'm not creating my account. And I can tell that you know that because it says since 2008 on my account name that you just showed me. But then I had to verify my email address, and that created the account. So I think they've done something recently to like recreate the Telltale account system.
Oh, huh, that's weird. I didn't have to do that.
Okay.
I just logged in.
Oh, no, good. That's good for you. Yeah. By the way, like on that thing, it has the Telltale logo and then 3 series characters behind it. On the left, it's Batman, and then in the middle, it's The Wolf Among Us, and then on the right, it's The Expanse. And that is so interesting to me because like that feels like, just with the iconography of it, this is the attempt to establish what Telltale is right now. Batman, The Wolf Among Us, and The Expanse are the front runners of this brand that I have never considered those the main things of.
None of them.
Yeah, but oh, you know what? I should try logging in with my Telltale account to Batman. Now that I have, now that I know it works with like the new stuff, because I know it doesn't work with the old stuff.
Yeah, maybe I should. Well, the weird thing about Batman is it wouldn't let me log in, and I thought that's why it didn't give me my choices for like the first 2 episodes. But then all of a sudden it did.
Yeah, and I had the choices too, so I don't know. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, so that's just interesting because like The Wolf Among Us, I think to your point, does have like some of that aesthetic carryover a little bit from some of the lighter stuff, but it's definitely dark. It's super dark.
It's still M-rated, super violent, and
it has actual sex in it.
Yeah, you see a boob.
You see multiple.
Yeah,
Every time you see one, there's one other right around the corner.
There's gonna be another one.
Just like the worst, the worst psychic in the world, just predicting when you're going to see the second boob.
I think you're gonna be surprised.
Okay. Yeah, that's the show. I agree with that. I would like to see some more of that. In case this was interesting, in case this was interesting to anyone, you can go ahead and subscribe to us on whatever you like to subscribe to your podcasts on. We're on just about every little dang thing out there. When we come back, we'll be back in Walking Dead and then Expanse and then Walking Dead, like we said. And until next time, have a great summer.
Have a great summer!